Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much to all of you who liked and subscribed in my first two videos. I really appreciate it. I woke up this morning and saw that I had subscribers actually, and it like made my entire day. So thank you so much. Thank you for the messages about videos that I should do. I got a couple asking about my labor story. So I figured I would come on today and say a little bit more about that. Got my peach tea. I also got one asking about this necklace, where I got it, and Evan actually made this for me for Christmas 2 years ago. So, find one that looks like it somewhere, let me know. Anyways, so I figured I would do my labor story today because it's something that I can just sit down and film and share with you guys real quick. Well, first of all, pregnancy was not easy. It was hard because I have Meniere's disease, and I guess when you're pregnant, obviously your hormones are through the roof, but I guess that just like enhances it a whole lot. So I was constantly dizzy. I couldn't have any caffeine. I haven't been able to have caffeine for a while just because you can't have caffeine when you have Meniere's disease without getting like a dizzy spell, or I can't, at least for some people with it, it's different. But the things that affect mine the most is caffeine, high sodium, and alcohol. So obviously you're not supposed to have caffeine when you're pregnant. That was easy for me because I haven't been having it for years. Can't have alcohol, that's like no biggie. But the high sodium stuff was hard because I craved like French fries. Like specifically, I just wanted like cheesy bacon fries and like nacho fries, like fries with all the good gross salty toppings on top. But anyways, so I was dizzy a lot throughout my pregnancy, and I actually passed out, like fainted, I think 5 times throughout my entire pregnancy, just from getting these dizzy spells and things like that. But one time I was 20 weeks pregnant. I was at work, and I work at the hospital where I delivered, and or I worked there. I'm a stay-at-home mommy now. I'll go back eventually, but I passed out at work. I was in the bathroom, and one of my coworkers found me, and they called a code blue on me, and which is exactly what they were supposed to do, but it was so embarrassing. I had thrown up all over the floor, and I don't really remember very much of that moment when they were like, when they were getting me on the stretcher and everything like that, because I was in and out of consciousness. But I do remember they put me in a neck brace, which sucked because I was throwing up, and so I couldn't bend my neck or anything to try and bend over, so I was just literally throwing up like down myself. And they were wheeling me through the hallway in a stretcher to go to the ER, and all of my coworkers were like lined up, all the nurses and everything on that floor, doctors, everybody was like lined up down the hallways, and they were like wheeling me through, and I'm just like wearing this neck brace with like throw up running down me, and I was like, thanks. Like as embarrassing as it was, the staff was amazing, and they were really fast, and they acted quickly and made sure that I was okay. The only reason they had to put me in the neck brace is because I did fall. I fell on my side, not my belly, thank goodness. But yeah, so I had to stay the night in the hospital, and I had to get my blood drawn every 4 hours, so that was no fun. But on to the rest of my labor story. The third trimester, that kind of stuff happened a lot more. It seemed to, like, because your hormones are just crazy the closer that you get to labor, and so that kind of stuff happened a lot more. But anywho, so for the first, I started getting contractions 2 days before I went into labor, and but they weren't, I can't remember what the doctor called them, because I called and I was like, I'm having contractions, but they're stopping. So they would be like every 4 minutes, like, you know, repeatedly. They'd happen every 4 minutes, but then they would just stop after like 2 or 3 hours of having those, and they would never progress. So basically, like, they were real contractions. They weren't Braxton Hicks, but they didn't progress labor whatsoever. And once your body kind of realizes that it's not progressing anything, they just stop them. And so that happened 5 times in the 2 days before I went into actual labor, and it was draining because, like, one time it happened in the middle of the night, and it was for 5 hours straight, and they went from being 6 minutes apart to 4 minutes apart. And I thought, like, oh, maybe it was time. And so it just kind of sucked when you go through all that and you have them for that long already, and then they just stop, and you're like, all that for nothing, you know? So that sucked. But anyways, the day I went into labor, I actually had a checkup. It was a checkup. They were going to check me to see if I was dilated at all, because they hadn't checked me at all up until this point, and it was the day before my due date. And so I had the doctor's appointment at 10, and I started having contractions at 8 in the morning. And so I didn't know if they were real or not, so I was just going to wait it out until my doctor's appointment, because I knew they were going to check me anyways, and I was just going to see what they thought, you know, like if I should go in. Part of me wanted so badly to, like, be in labor. I was hoping I would be one of those stories where you hear the woman, like, goes in to her doctor's appointment, and she gets checked, and they're like, well, you're in active labor, you better head over to the hospital. And, like, I wanted that so bad. And I remember thinking that all morning. I was like, please, please let me be in labor this time. But I was trying really hard not to get my hopes up. By the time I was driving to my doctor's appointment, when I started having contractions, they were 6 minutes apart. By the time that I was driving to my doctor's appointment, like I left the house, they were 4 minutes apart. And then on the way there, they got to be 3 minutes apart. And I remember I was on my phone with my friend Alyssa. And I know I shouldn't have been on my phone and driving with contractions, but I was kind of freaking out. And side note, I was pregnant with 2 of my best friends, Alyssa and Shannon, and then my cousin Audrey. So that was really an exciting time for all of us to be pregnant together like that. It was amazing. We all kind of leaned on each other and gave each other advice. It was fantastic. I can't even, like, I would have been so lost at some points throughout my pregnancy without them, because they all gave me advice, and 2 of them went through labor before me, so I really had a lot of advice about labor and delivery and all that stuff. So, and the 2 that went through it, their labor stories were so different that I kind of got advice from both sides, so that was really nice. But anyways, I was on my way there, and they got to be 3 minutes apart, and I was on the phone with my friend Alyssa, and I was like, I don't know, these feel real. And she was like, well, just, don't get your hopes up. You've been having those weird contractions. And she's like, I feel like it's just those again. I was like, yeah, I know, but, like, part of me I was like, these feel different. These were way more painful. So I got to my doctor's appointment, and there was, of course, nowhere to park. So I drove around forever trying to find a place to park. Eventually, I ended up just parking halfway on a snowbank because I was in so much pain and I was about to be late for my doctor's appointment. And I went to get out of my car, and my water broke right there. I had one leg out of the car. The other leg was still in my car, and my water broke, and I was in jeans, and I was soaked, and I was like, whoa. Like, so that's what that feels like. Okay. I knew I did not pee because, I mean, you can tell. Like, I know that a lot of people say, like, oh, I accidentally, I peed and I thought that my water broke. Like, I get it. Like, it can happen. But, like, I knew for sure that I didn't not pee. Like, so my water broke. And I just got back in my car, and my doctor's office is right across the street from the hospital. So when I was on my way, I was driving over there, I called my doctor's office and let them know that I wasn't going to be coming in, that my water had just broke, so I was just going to go get checked into triage. And they said that was the right thing to do, so that's good. I called my mom next, which I kind of felt bad because I didn't call Evan first. I called my mom, but in my mind, like, she has further to come because she had to come all the way up from downstate and she was at work, so I wanted to make sure to give her that time, and then I called Evan, and he could get there in 10 minutes flat. And Evan was funny because I called him and I was like, hey, I got to my doctor's appointment and my water broke, so I drove across the street to the hospital. I'm walking in now. I'm in labor. And he was like, are you okay to drive? Do you need me to come and get you? And I was like, babe, I'm at the hospital. Like, get here. And so he was like, oh, okay. And he was on his way. And I walked into the hospital, and the security guard was, like, trying to check my bag and everything, which I get, like, that's his job. But I was just standing there, like, can I go? I was like, my water broke, and I'm kind of in a little bit of pain because, like, I was in the middle of a contraction when he was checking my bag, and he's like, oh. And he walked me, like, right in there. He scanned his badge. He walked me up to the nurse's station, and he was like, this young lady's water just broke. Like, he seemed, like, really timid about it. And the nurse looked at me, and she was like, yeah, it did. Like, I just loved the whole nursing staff there. They were so funny. They were fantastic. They helped me so much and made me feel so great, which is exactly what they're supposed to do. So they didn't even check me into triage. They literally took me right in the room, and when the midwife came in, she was like, well, she was actually a midwife in training. The training midwife was like, she came in and the nurse was like, I didn't put her through triage because it was pretty apparent to me that her water did break. And she was like, well, let's check it out. And they got me in the gown, and she, you know, they use like a little strip of paper and they like test the fluid that's coming out of you. And she went to do it, and I guess I was like dry, and I was like, it doesn't feel very dry, but because like my water had broke. So she was like, cough, and I had to cough, and some came out for her to test, and she was like, yep, your water broke for sure. And I was like, I was pretty sure of that, but you know, they have to test it anyway. So she checked me, and I was dilated to 3 centimeters, and my contractions after my water broke got so close so quickly. They started being like a minute apart, literally. And I told them when I got there, they asked me what I wanted for pain management, and I said I definitely want to get an epidural. I'm just not sure when, because, you know, who knows how labor's gonna go. I could, and they said not to wait too long or whatever, but I so quickly was into hard labor. That's what they kept calling it. I was in hard labor, and I just was not getting any relief from my contractions. One would hit, and immediately after another one, like I was just not getting any relief. And so I was like looking at my nurse. She was the same nurse that my friend Shannon had for her delivery, and I was there for all of Shannon's delivery and labor, and it was amazing, and it was beautiful. It was the most amazing thing to witness, and I literally had like 3 weeks left until I was due, and I was like pushing with her, and they were like, stop pushing. I was like, I can't help it. But anywho, so I was like looking at her, and I was like, I'm not doing as good as Shannon did, because like Shannon handled him like a champ. But she was like, honey, you're in hard labor. Shannon's contractions were a lot further apart than yours were. And I was like, yeah. Okay, so like she was really good about reassuring me, because I did not think I was doing very good at all. But it got to the point when I remember when Evan got there, the nurse walked in and she was like, I found somebody you might know. And I was in the middle of a contraction, and he walked in, and for some reason through my contractions I would just like I would tuck my ear as tight into my shoulder as I could possibly get it. Like I just kept my head cocked to the side, and I could not stop moving. Like my legs were just like in the bed, and the nurse was like, you're gonna give yourself rug burn. And I was like, that's fine, I don't care, it's like how I cope. And I was rocking, I was all over the place. I felt so bad when he got there, because like you would have swore they were like performing an exorcism on me or something. But so he got there, and you know I was squeezing his hand and everything, and finally I was in so much pain I couldn't even talk. I couldn't, like, you just want to cry, but you can't even cry. Like you're just in that much pain. You just your body takes over and you can't do anything. So I didn't even get to like say when I wanted my epidural. My nurse was like, she needs her epidural now. And like I'm so thankful she called that for me, because I wasn't even thinking about that for some reason. Like you'd think when you're going through that much pain you'd be thinking about the thing that could take your pain away, but I was just like, it was bad. So she was like, she needs her epidural stat. And from what I've heard from everybody else's labor story, it takes like an hour to get the epidural, like for them to page it, get the person up there and give it to you. He was in my room in like 15 minutes, like quick. He was like, all right, let's do this. And you guys, like, I wish so badly somebody could have gotten a picture of Evan when they were giving me my epidural, because it was the sweetest moment, probably the sweetest moment I've ever experienced with him throughout our 6 years of dating. Like he's always been there for me, and I love him so much. He's so supportive, but like in that moment, he like, this sounds cheesy, but I was like, yep, this is my person, he's my man. Like he was so supportive of me. He held me, and he just did everything that I needed him to do in that moment. So they only let you have one person in the room with you. So my mom had just gotten there. She witnessed one contraction, and they kicked her out to give me my epidural. And, you know, they were giving me my epidural, and Evan was, like, lower because they raised the bed all the way up to do it. And so he was sitting in a chair, and he had his head, like, on my belly and his arms around me, and he was, like, rubbing my hips, and I had my head down on him because you have to, like, arch your back really hard. And it was so hard to sit still through those contractions. Like, I don't know how I did it, but the lady said that I did so good. I don't even really remember it that much, but he was fantastic. That was besides obviously the delivery of my son, like when they sat him on me, that was my favorite part of my labor story, is how Evan was during that moment, because I was so scared. I was so afraid of needles. I kind of got used to them throughout my pregnancy, especially when I had to stay the night in the hospital and they had to draw my blood every 4 hours. I kind of just got used to it. But so anyways, my mom came back in, and she, like I said, had only witnessed one contraction. And when she came back in, I was on cloud 9. I was like, all right, I'm better now. But she was like, thank goodness for that epidural, which my mom delivered me and my sister. No epidural, no pain meds, nothing. I don't know how she did that. I was a big baby. I was a fat baby. So I don't know how, kudos to all the women out there that do not have epidurals, because I would not have been able to do it. I can 100% say I would not. I would have obviously done it, because you just do in that moment. Your body does what it needs to do, but oof, man. So kudos to all of you that do it all natural. You are champs. But anyways, after that, yeah, I was on cloud 9. I didn't feel any more contractions. There was pressure, but nothing. So finally, it was 45 minutes later. They hadn't checked me again throughout this entire process. They checked me that one time when I came in and I was at 3 centimeters. So I was just starting to feel a lot of pressure. So we called the nurse back in, and she was like, okay, I'll get the midwife and we'll check you. And so the midwife came in. She asked me what I was feeling. I said it was just a lot of pressure, and I was rocking again, So they gave me a button to administer more of the epidural fluid as I needed it, but I really didn't want to administer anymore. I tried, I didn't administer anymore until I had to, because I heard the epidurals slow down your contractions and everything like that, and I just didn't want it to slow it down anymore. So if I didn't need to, I didn't want to hit the button. But she called her in, she checked me, and it was funny, when she checked me, she was like, well, I can't find your cervix anymore. And I was like, what does that mean? Where'd it go? I was so confused at what she meant by that. She was like, you are fully dilated, and the head is right there. And I was like, whoa. All of a sudden I was like, oh, it's game time. I thought I had hours before I even had to think about even pushing or anything like that, because everybody else, their labor stories were one of my friends was in labor for 28 hours, and the other one was in labor for 16, I think, 16 or 18. And so I was like, I've got hours, I've got time, whatever. And it went so fast, and he was there. So anyway, she was like, we're going to give it about 20 minutes. I'm going to go and get the midwife. We're going to get prepped, everything like that. And I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there, 20 minutes passed, and all of a sudden a half hour passed, and I was like, okay, lots of pressure, what's going on? So we called the nurse back in, and she's like, so the midwife who is delivering is actually in another delivery right now. And I was like, okay, well, isn't there anybody else? Because in my head I'm thinking, delivery can last a few hours, who's going to deliver my baby if she's in there for a few hours? She's like, so you just got to hold him in there. And I was like, hold him in there? This baby's trying to escape. And my body's natural reaction to push with the contractions was just taken over. I was trying so hard to fight it, but your body just pushes for you. That's just what its natural reaction is to do, I wasn't trying to. I was trying so hard to hold it back. So for 45 minutes I had to hold him in there, and it was hard. I got to the point where my mom was trying to talk to me, and I was just I couldn't talk. I was just rocking all over the place, and she's like, you're doing really good at rocking through that, sweetie. And I was like, but it was hard. But anyways, finally 45 minutes later, the midwife comes in, and she's like, you ready to have a baby? And I'm thinking, yeah, I was ready a while ago. Obviously I know she has her job, but in the moment I was impatient. I was like, I am the only one that matters right now, and me and my baby, but I started pushing, and they were like, wow, you are meant to have babies. You just know exactly what you're doing. And I was like, no, I don't. But I pushed for 17 minutes, and he was out. Literally 17 minutes. I am so thankful for that. And I can't help but feel if they wouldn't have made me wait that long that it wouldn't have gone like that. If I would have started pushing when I thought I was going to, I probably would have been pushing a lot longer. So I'm kind of thankful in a way that I had to hold him in there. But it was hard, I'm not gonna lie. John's waking up from a nap right now. Go back to sleep. Anyways, so yeah, but I remember it was funny because when I was pushing, I didn't, like, obviously I wasn't paying attention at the time. I was focusing on that. But, you know, my contraction stopped. They have you push through a contraction. Like, I pushed, like, 3 times a contraction, sometimes 4. And I think I had 4 contractions, and he was out. But, I was like, the contraction stopped, so I stopped. And the midwife was like, you can't stop now. You can't stop now. You gotta keep pushing. I was like, but my contraction stopped. Little did I know, he was, like, out up to here. And I was like, oops. So I pushed him the rest of the way out. She was like, you gotta help me. And I was like, help you do what? But, that was a good epidural because I didn't feel a thing. At that point, I didn't know there was a baby sticking out of me. But, so I kept pushing, we got him out, and I heard him cry for the first time, and I was like, oh my goodness, and I started bawling, like, for a split second, I was bawling, and then all of a sudden I was like, okay, what's going on down there? Like, like, what are you doing? Where's my baby? And they sat him on my belly, you know, because they had to cut the umbilical cord, and then they pushed him up higher on me, and it was the most amazing feeling, like, he's fighting it, he's trying. It was the most amazing feeling, holding him for the first time, and just looking into his little blue eyes, and he had so much hair, like, and it was wavy, like, it was dark. He was just the most beautiful baby straight from the very beginning. Like, he was just a good-looking kid, you know? Everybody tells me, like, he doesn't even look like a newborn. He had such good coloring, and I'm gonna go get him real quick. I'll be right back. Alright, I got him, and he's got the cutest little shirt on. It says Born to Rock. Alright, we're gonna have a bottle here. So, yeah, after that, it was pretty easy. I mean, they had to deliver the placenta and everything like that. And it was kind of funny because you know how, like, for the moms out there, they have to, like, rub your belly kind of and, like, push on it to get the placenta to come out. And then they tell you to do, like, one more push, but everybody says that, like, when they're pushing on your belly like that, it hurts so bad and all this stuff, but, like, I told the midwife when she was doing it, it felt good and it felt like a massage, and she was like, that must be a good epidural because you are the only person that's ever said that. And I was like, oh, feels good. So, placenta came out, and I was just, like, on cloud 9. I was just holding my baby, and they were trying to, like, tell me all this stuff, and, like, yada yada, all blah blah. They were, like, doing all that good stuff down there, making sure you're all good. I didn't tear at all, nothing like that, so recovery was pretty easy for me. But, yeah, I was just loving every moment of it. And it was funny because they, like, I don't know what they do with the placenta, but, like, they had it in, like, a tray thing, and, like, the lady, the midwife and the nurse were doing something over there, and Evan was just, like, sitting there, like, watching, and I was like, what are you looking at? But they were like, do you want to touch it? Like, they were going to give him a glove to, like, touch it, and he looked at me, and I was like, do not touch my placenta. Like, all the things, every time they were like, do you want to feel? I was like, no. I don't want to feel any of this. But, like, when you're crowning, they're like, do you want to, like, reach your hand down here and feel? I was like, no, just get the baby out of me. Like, Lord. So, anyways, but Evan goes, it smells like when you dress a deer in here. Because he's a deer hunter, and so, you know, like, when you dress the deer is when you take all of, like, the yucky stuff out that you leave out in the field when you're hunting. And he goes, it smells like when you dress a deer. And I was like, and all the nurses just kind of, like, look at me, and I was like, that's my boyfriend. That's why I love him. Because he is himself to a T. But, yeah, John snuggled on me for about 20 minutes before he started showing signs that he wanted to start nursing. So then the baby nurse was like, go ahead, let him try. And he latched on immediately, like, right away, literally. He had no trouble, and he had a good latch. So, thankful for that one, because I was worried. But, and he nursed for, like, 45 minutes the first time he ever nursed. So, he had that motion down packed. Fresh out the womb, I guess. He weighed 8 pounds, 10 ounces when he was born. He was 20 3/4 inches long, and he was born at 3:05 in the afternoon. And he was just a perfect little baby. Literally, I couldn't have asked for a better baby. We love him so much. He's so loved, and we're so blessed to have him. And, you know, he cries like any other baby, obviously, but for the most part, he's pretty chill. He just kind of hangs out. He's really smiley. He keeps himself entertained really easily. I'll do another video on, let's see, he turns 3 months in 2 days. He turns 3 months on Friday, and it's Wednesday, on Valentine's Day. And so I'll probably do a 3-month progress video by Monday, but he's doing pretty good. He's already rolling over and everything like that, and he's been doing that for before he was 2 months old. He's crazy, this kid. He just, there's no slowing him down, none at all. So, but that is my labor and delivery story. I don't think I left anything out. If you have any more questions, feel free to message me and let me know, or leave something in the comments for me. If you liked it, thumbs up and subscribe, please. I would love it. And thanks for watching. Bye.